Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. In today's video we've got a little bit of fall, one little Christmas, and something that's really beautiful and shabby chic. So let's get started. So my first project is a cabinet door that I thrifted at the Habitat Restore. And I painted it with Rust-Oleum Tate Green. It's spelled T-A-T-E. And it's a beautiful sage mossy green, and I really like it. So I went on and painted it all the way, and now I'm using DOS clay in the IOD primitive mold. And it's a mold that came out in the spring, and it has all of these beautiful molds that goes back to those old-timey samplers that you used to see a long time ago. And so I am using the sunflower and then just the little leaves. And remember, when you put clay into a mold, you need to put some cornstarch in it first, and that just helps it to relace a little bit better. So in just a minute, when you see the molds up at the top of the cabinet door, you're going to notice that now the inside of that cabinet door is painted with Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. Now that's a long and epic story about a major fail that I had with this cabinet door. So we're just not going to talk about that. We're just going to kind of go from here, and I'm going to show you what I came up with instead. And I just think that it turned out just beautiful, and I'm really happy with the result. So we're just not going to talk about all the negative things that happened just to get to this point, but just know that as crafters, yes, sometimes we do have big old mess ups, but sometimes when we have those mess ups and we fix it, then it turns out to be better than what we originally planned. So this is how I decided to fix it. Now this is the IOD mold that kind of matches that, it's the IOD stamp, and it is called Pennsylvania Folk. Now, let me tell you about putting the birds on. In the past, when I've tried to stamp those particular birds, if I put them on a thin mount, I never can seem to get their beaks at just the right point. So I wanted them to be absolutely perfect, since I already messed up on this so many times. So I decided to take everything else off of that little plastic that it comes on and leave the birds on it. Then that way I would know that they would be absolutely in the right place. And then after that, then I used my regular thin mount to put on the other pieces. And then I made sure that all those little extra pieces that I had taken off initially, I put them back on before I get them lost. Now, if you'll notice, what I like to do when I put my stamps on, if I know that I want them to be in a particular spot, I go ahead and I'll lay them down where I want them to be, upside down. And then I take my thin mount and lay it straight on top, and then the back side of that stamp sort of suctions onto that thin mount, and then that way it's going to be in the right spot. So I'm making everything symmetrical when I'm doing this, because I think that with this old primitive art, I think it's meant to be more symmetrical. So that's why I'm doing it like this. And then there's a couple pieces, or the three pieces right in the middle, that are not the same, but that's okay, because when you look at the whole stamp set, a lot of the pieces do kind of are lined up, but with this particular stamp set, you can do it anyway, and no matter which way you do it, it still looks beautiful. Okay, so what I'm doing now is all the little leaves and anything that looks like it could possibly be green, I'm using the Rust-Oleum Tate Green. Well, let me just go back and say I spray painted this cabinet door first. And then after I had all these failures on this cabinet door, I decided maybe I needed to just go get a can of that. So I did, because I really do like this color now. But I shook it up a lot, and I even stirred it with like a popsicle stick, and it was still kind of watery. And it reminded me a little bit of watercolors. And that's how I came up with how I was going to finish it off. And that's why I think I like it so much, because it looks so primitive, and because of the paint that I use, looks a lot like watercolors. So that's kind of where I ended up going with that. Now, with all the other pieces, what I did was I'm using two particular colors, and they're the colors that I've used recently, and it's those Dixie Belle colors that I got on sale after the end of the season last year. And one was called Pumpkin Spice, and the other one was called Cashmere. Well, they're both beautiful colors, but I decided that if I would use half and half, that they would be a really more muted color of the Pumpkin Spice. And so that's what I did. So as I'm putting it on, I decided that I would kind of paint a little on the inside, and then I was going to be really careful, and I was going to go along the outside of those outlines. But when I did, I really liked it, and it's almost a little bit more primitive looking. It's not watered down like that green looked, but for some reason, I don't know why I like it so much, but I just didn't fill in the complete piece of it. And so you're going to see a little bit of color coming out on the sides around that particular mix of colors. And I can't explain why I like it so much. It's just one of those things that it just seemed to be more pleasing to the eye. So if you're an artistic person and it makes sense to you, please tell me why that makes sense and why it looks good. Or you might not like it, and then you can say, Myra, I didn't like that. You should have painted the whole thing. But when I got to the little birds, I didn't want them to be the same color. So I took some more of that cashmere, and I put a little bit more in the cup. I stirred a little bit more in that to make it just a little bit lighter. And I went in that same way where I left a lot of the white showing. So you've got the outline and some of the white showing, and then you've got the kind of watered down looking paint. So what do you think so far? And do you like this primitive art? I know when I was a little girl, I remember seeing samplers that people had cross-stitched a long time ago. But more in particular, I don't know if y'all remember, but remember those fabric kitchen calendars that you might see at your grandmother's house? And I remember seeing the primitive art on those calendars. Now, here's the clay pieces up at the top that I glued on with Tite Bond glue, and I'm just using that same kind of color that I mixed the cashmere and the pumpkin spice together. But I decided on the sunflower just right in the center that I would just put more of that pumpkin spice. And then on those little leaves, I'm using the Tate green. And then I'm almost finished, and this is the part that I forgot to film. I decided afterwards that I wanted to put a little bit distressing on it, and I didn't want to use the Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain because I was afraid it was too dark. And just recently I did the Dixie Belle Au Naturel. So once again, I mixed that half and half, and I really liked it because it's not dark and it's not too light. It's just the right color for me. And those are some old knobs that came off some drawers that I had on an old piece of furniture that I'm using to make as a handle. And so now it's a tray. And I've sprayed it a lot to make sure that it's protected so that when somebody does use it, if some water spills on it, it won't mess it up. But so what do you think? Do you like the sort of really primitive look? And what do you think about some of the white showing through on those different pieces that I painted? Now, the next piece is just a tote bag that I got at Hobby Lobby. And all I'm really doing on this is I'm just using a really pretty transfer from the IOD seed catalog that came out in the spring. But the reason that I'm just putting the whole thing on it is because, well, number one, because it's beautiful, but because I like the colors and they remind me a lot of fall colors right now. And I thought this bag would be really special because, you know, now that the different vegetables are being harvested, this would be a perfect tote bag for someone if they were going to be going to the farmer's market to getting their vegetables. Now, at our house, we have our own garden. And so I don't really go to the farmer's market unless I need like dill if I'm going to be making pickles or something. But my sister-in-law, she loves to go to the farmer's market near her house. And it's just a good sturdy bag that you can be using for that. And actually on the other side, it's got some little pockets. So I probably will give this to her because she goes to the farmer's market almost every weekend. And transfers are really easy to go onto cloth. And then you just use that plastic and you just kind of wipe over it real easy and burnish it. And I think it turned out really pretty. But it's just really simple, but I really like it. And I like the design on it, and I like the fall colors. So what do you think about this? And are you somebody that likes to go to the farmer's market? It is a really neat place to go. And I like that you can also go and find other things like natural soaps and people that make baskets and some beautiful plants. But I just don't go because, well, we have our own garden and because it's pretty far away from me. Now, this next piece, I know that you've seen a lot of people do this before, but this is just an old Bundt pan that I got at a thrift shop. I really don't remember where I got it. It's been a long time ago. And it is super thin. It's nothing that I would ever want to bake a cake in because I think it would probably burn even if you sprayed it. But I bought it with this in mind. So this is a transfer that I've actually had for quite a while, and it's from Redesign with Prima, and it's called Sunflower Farms, and I used a lot of it in other pieces before I actually started YouTube. So and it's got a lot of just little bits and pieces of it here and there, but look at the piece that I'm cutting. See how you can tell that it's flat on the bottom, and really when you put these pieces together, they sort of match up. But if you're going to be putting it on the edge of a piece, then it works out perfectly because it just looks like the top of those flowers are sticking up. Now, because it was really hard to film, I'm just going to show you all the different transfers going around it. And these are just some flowers that I got at Walmart. Now, this is my little Christmas project, and this is just a little bamboo mini cutting board that I bought at Hobby Lobby last year after Christmas. And this is a little Christmas sheep from Decoupage Central, and it's one of the quarter pieces, and it's so pretty. And I love it. I just think so much about, you know, how Jesus was the Lamb of God, and so I know that that's a really important part of the Christmas story. And so, and you know, the shepherds were in the fields when the angels came to them to say that Jesus was going to be born. So I think that the lamb is a really special animal at Christmas time, as well as the rest of the year. So I was going to just kind of dry brush white on it so that the decoupage would show up better. But once I did that and I laid the decoupage paper down, I decided that I just wanted it to all be the Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And so I was kind of in a hurry to get it done, so I used my little heat gun to dry it. And I always try to be really careful because, well, I don't want to burn my hand. And sometimes if you'll notice that there's shadows on the table, it's because I craft at night. And so when I'm tired, I certainly don't want to be burning my hand. Now, I know that in my last video, I used a new decoupage glue, and it's from Pin Art, and it's called Decoupage Varnish, and I'm really, really loving this. And so that's what I'm using on this one. And decoupage paper is so much thicker than a napkin, and so it's really easy to put it on, and you don't get any wrinkles from it. And I just think it turned out so pretty. It's just something little that you can sit in the kitchen or you could turn it into an ornament. And I just took 2 different pieces of ribbon and I put them on my little bow maker. And one is more of a taupe color and one is a red color. And I'm just going to hot glue it up at the top. And there's my little Christmas lamb on a little cutting board. And I took a crackle stamp that I bought off of Amazon. And I just added a little bit of crackle stamp to it, just to add a little bit of interest to it and to give it another like texture that you would see when you're looking at it. But I just think it's so beautiful. And I love those really muted colors at Christmas time. So what do you think? Now, if you're liking the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, we'd love for you to be part of our family. Now, look real quick, because on Saturday, I'm going to be using 3 of these. What do you think I'm going to use it for? Okay, let's keep on going. So here's my next tote bag. Okay, friends. Now, I have used one of the transfers from this set before, and you all loved it. It was beautiful. This woman is so, so pretty. And the name of the transfer is called Victorian Treasure. And this is the largest transfer in the piece. And it was one that I've kind of been holding on to because it's so, so beautiful. And I wanted to save it for just the right project. And so this will probably stay with me because number one, I like it a whole bunch. And because I like to have tote bags. And so I think I'll probably keep this one. As much as I love this transfer, I really do not want to sell it. And, you know, once again, putting transfers onto drop cloth or fabric, it's so, so easy. And remember, just one more time, you just want to take that plastic and burnish over it and make sure that it pushes down any little extra pieces that might not have adhered very well. And then I can't wait for you to see what I do next. It's so sweet. Now, there is a verse in the Bible called talking about how we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And it's in Psalms 139. And I love this scripture. And I love it for so many reasons. But personally, as a school counselor, before I retired, I wanted to give my little girls at school, especially in elementary school, especially the 4th and 5th graders, I wanted them to give the confidence or help them to have the confidence that they needed. And I wanted them to know that they were fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And then in my little Sunday school class that I teach with my 4th and 5th graders, this was a verse that we had at the beginning of the year, and I just really like it. And so this is the alphabet from IOD called letterpress, and I just line it up on the thin mount. And you know, sometimes you're going to have letters that you have to have 2 of. So it's not really difficult. You just have to go really slowly. And I'm using the Stays-On ink, the black ink, to put it on. And now on that wonderfully, I have to go back and I have to add another L to it. But I'm just going really slow on this because I want them to line up real well. And then after I put those 2 longer words on, then I put the and the made on. And then down at the bottom, I use a different font to just put the Psalms 139. Now, these are just some different laces that I make into a messy bow. And I go ahead and tie it up in the middle. And then I take another little strand of those pearls that you get in the wedding section at Hobby Lobby, and I tie a little strand on that. Now, if I hang it from the little handle, then it's going to cover up the woman's face. And if I hang it on the other side, it's going to cover up the words. So I didn't want either one to be covered up. And because a lot of times when you carry a tote bag, you're going to see the side of the bag. So I decided to just put it there. And I found a little button that was kind of rhinestone looking, but it was in a silver finish. And then I put it on with Titebond glue. Now I'm making a little tag to also hang on it. And this is a little stamp that I found at Hobby Lobby. And it let me read it to you. It is, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. And it's Proverbs. And the little letters or the little numbers are so small. I think it's 3125. And I thought, what a perfect way to finish this off, but to put a little tag on it. And then I add just little pieces of that transfer to kind of tie it all together. And then on the back of it, I'm just going to use a little stamp that I got off of Amazon. And I'm just going to hang that from the handle. And I just think it's a perfect addition to those two. And I just think those two scriptures just tie in so well together. But I really like the way that this turned out. And this is the little stamp that I get off of Amazon. And then some of the little thin lace that I like to use, I use that to put like a little tie on it. And there's the final project. I just think she's beautiful. And then I added that extra little piece of transfer right there to tie it all together. But isn't she just beautiful? I think I grew up in the wrong time, because I look at that dress and just would love to have a dress like that. I would also like to have a figure like that, but I do not. But I just think she's beautiful. But once again, we are fearfully and wonderfully made by God, and we are made in His image. And I just think that's important for us to remember. Friends, we are at the end of the video already, and here's all of the pieces today. We've got my little Bundt pan pumpkin that I put some little, the little green florist styrofoam, put that in the middle. And these are just some little flowers that I just got at Walmart. And they have some really pretty flowers, and they're fairly cheap. And there's my little tote bag that I'll probably give to my sister-in-law. And then I've got my little Christmas lamb that's so pretty. And on that sheet, there's 3 more pieces. So I probably will use that on some other things. And then I've got my little primitive tray that I'll be putting in my booth. And I love everything. So today in the comments, let me know what was your favorite. And also, don't forget, at the very end, I'm going to show that little thing again. And that's going to be in my Saturday video. So I want you to tell me, what do you think I'm going to make out of it? I found it at the thrift shop recently, and it just was screaming at me to buy it. And I can't wait to show you what it's going to be. So keep your fingers crossed that everything goes right in the next couple days, so I can have my video ready for Saturday. But I appreciate your support. We are already over 3,300 subscribers, so thanks to you for all you do and all your sweet comments. But make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel and become part of our family. And are you ready? Look one more time, because it's going to be here on Saturday. Have a great day.